All right, good afternoon.
Yeah, I'll let you come on. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. All right. Just before we get started, in case you're wondering, we're using a new system today because the city of Wichita Wi-Fi can't be accessed, so we don't have microphones. So we have this system. You have to speak pretty loudly so that our guests online can hear, and then also it picks up a lot of chatter. So take my bracelet off and maybe not have sidebar conversations, but hopefully next month we'll be back to our normal system. But welcome. I'm super glad everyone is here today for the WAMPO Transportation Policy Board meeting on Tuesday, May 4th, 2024 at 3 p.m. We'll go ahead and get started with regular business. First item is to approve the TPP agenda for May 14th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yay, I didn't think there would be. All right, next is TPP meeting minutes for April 9th of 2024. It was an awesome meeting. Great job on the minutes, WAMPO staff. Is there anything that anyone would like to bring to our attention that needs to be altered or corrected? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Does anyone need to abstain because they weren't here? Okay. Motion carries. Chad, director's report. This is gonna be a good one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Members of the Transportation Policy Body, good afternoon. We have a few items to report. Before that, I'd like to thank our chair for having an onboard meeting, training, onboard meeting for new members of the Transportation Policy Body. Just to summarize on a high level, most of you are already aware that WAMPO requires to develop 3 documents: long-range transportation plan, and then TIP, the short-range transportation plan, transportation improvement program, and then unified planning work program that documents the staff tasks and the budgets. So that's basically what we discussed and helped our new members, welcoming new members, what goes on, what type of decisions take place here, how voting and action items take place. And thank you to Chair for setting up all those, scheduling those onboard meetings. I think with that, we have a few items to report to you, and let me request Peter for bi-monthly project status on our committed projects.
Good afternoon, TPP.
Good afternoon.
On page 23 of the WAMPO tech policy, it requires that we do bi-monthly progress reports for projects, programs to receive WAMPO sub-allocated federal funding in the current federal fiscal year, or have received it in the past federal fiscal year, but are not yet finished. Here are those projects before you, and in the yellow are those 2024 projects or programs to receive sub-allocated funding for the 2024 year. And I always highlight those. We have a few more graphics in there so you can take a kind of a closer look at the information I always touch on when we go through these bi-monthly reports. So first we have the Seneca 63rd Street bike pathway, anticipated obligation date, January this year. Left date 2024, anticipated completion date, summer of 2024. We have the Safe Route to School Planning Assistance, which anticipated obligation 2024. We are currently working on that request for proposals with KDOT. We have the Which Way video wall, which anticipated obligation 2024, led in October of 2024, anticipated to complete that same month. We have the Nelson Drive realignment, sponsored by Derby. The anticipated obligation date is summer of 2024. Anticipated to let in June of 2024 and on track to complete in December of 2025. And we have the Oliver and Peach Road intersection. Anticipated to obligate in June of this year, let in July, and complete next spring. And then finally, we have there's 2 more. The 53rd Street, Oliver and Woodlawn multi-use path, still to be determined on those dates there. And then finally, the multimodal facility had its $1 million of CRP funds obligate earlier this year, anticipated to let this past month and complete in July of 2021. And then finally, I have that same table there before you to look at. Any questions for me on these bi-monthly updates?
Thank you, Peter. I think staff will be here to answer and clarify any questions. Sorry, the print is so small and the pages, but next time we'll probably print 11 by 17 pages for your review. So I think the next item is Kim helping us with safety activities. There are a couple of safety activities that Kim is feeding us today. Thank you, Kim.
Good afternoon, TVB. I just wanted to report, we did have, host our quarterly ICT Safe Coalition meeting. We had approximately 30 representatives there. It was a great meeting. They are actually helping implement our comprehensive safety action plan that you approved last December. So it's exciting for them to hear and see the progress and look at the next steps for the next couple of quarters. So that was a great meeting. I also have a brief update on the SS4A. As you know, we were awarded a demonstration funding as well as last December. So we are still working with, closely with the Federal Highway Administration to confirm the eligibility of projects and to ensure that we're meeting the grant obligations and everything appropriately. So that one is still proceeding. And then, as you know, we were working on an implementation grant, and SS4A, which is Safe Streets and Roads for All, is a really new and evolving program at the federal government level. And so they are evolving as they work out the details. And it was determined that we need to add a few additional strategies to our comprehensive safety action plan before submitting our implementation grant. So we will be proceeding with that actually for next year in 2025. And then I have one more update. We are excited that the KDOT Behavioral Safety Grant is out. So if you know of any organizations or groups that are really interested in helping us address road user behavior, this is not for infrastructure. This is really looking at behavior and addressing the safety concerns that we see with drivers, also with bicyclists, everybody who utilizes the road. So that application is out. It is due June 30th, and award will be made October. So, yeah,
Can I ask a question? So say a little bit more about, so it's not for infrastructure, so, and just explain, like, give me an example.
yes.
And then are you looking for individual municipalities, counties to send you ideas and then you work with them? Just say a little bit more about what the call to action is. So what would be an example of a viable project, and then what's the call to action?
Yes, so some of the projects could be, for example, a media awareness campaign on sharing the road.
Okay.
It could also be helmets for bicyclists or pay for rideshare. So it's very wide open. We're partnering with KDOT. They have the funding. It's a total of $50,000 available with grants ranging up to $30,000. And the application is on the WAMPO website. If you go to the safety page, you can download the application. It's very straightforward application. We want to make it as simple as possible for anyone to apply for that. So we're looking for some innovative ideas to really address some of these safety concerns for everyone utilizing our roads. So really looking at the behavior on that one.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining.
Yeah. Any additional questions on safety, just let me know.
Thank you, Kim. I think the next item we have is Dora, giving us an update on transit implementation plan. You heard all from Biltro, but Dora is going to give us status update on it.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So just a little update. So in our last meeting, some concepts were shared with us from SRF. Some of the concepts were to develop the Wichita Transit Express routes connecting to Derby, Park City and Valley Center, Andover, Goddard and Garden Plain. And also another concept was to extend Wichita Transit routes to Derby, Hayesville, and Bel Air. In addition to that is add to the, or there was another one where like add to Sedgwick County transit hours and capacity, establish new community-based demand response services, establish WAMPO programs, develop park and ride lots, or collaborate with TNCs, which are like Uber and Lyft. You can see these on our website. You go to wampo.org/regional transit. There's a whole document that goes in depth with description and the maps that show all these concepts. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and if I don't know the answer, I can definitely get the answers from Biltro. And also, we will be having 3 public meetings for our regional transit implementation plan on Wednesday, June 5th. The first meeting will be from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at Pathway Church in Goddard, Kansas. The second meeting will be virtual, so for those folks that can't make it on, in person, we'll have an option from 2 to 3 p.m. online. And then meeting 3 will be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. in Bel Air City Hall.
Thank you, Dora.
Dora, can I ask you a quick question? So under meeting, am I missing where it has the date? Oh, they're all the same date?
Yeah, they're all
Okay.
the same day.
Okay, thank you. Is there any way you could send this just individually or as a PDF or something? Because then I would forward it onto our comms team and they can put it out on social and send it out.
Yeah,
And other
definitely. I'll
folks
send that
might
over.
too. Is that okay? Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I think next items, thank you. The next items, we have Peter having 4 more quick items. Peter, thank you.
Hello again. Give an update on our upcoming request for proposals. So our intelligent transportation systems architecture update. We are planning on hiring a consultant to update our ITS, which was last updated in 2006. And we recently issued that RFP on May 2nd, and the proposal deadline is May 24th. In addition, we have the travel demand model update phase 2 project. This project will secure expert technical support from the consultants to keep the model up to date, train WAMPO staff on its use, provide on-call technical support, generate model outputs as needed, and recommend improvements. The RFP was issued on May 9th, and our proposal deadline for that RFP is June 7th, 2024. And then we have our safe routes to school planning assistant. We are seeking consultants to assist us in development of SRTS plans for safe routes to school plans for all schools and school districts in the region. Our state partners have reviewed a draft request for proposals, and WAMPO staff are currently finalizing edits to them. And then finally, as Kim already elaborated on, we have the Safe Streets and Roads for All SSFRA implementation grant application. With that particular one, because the grants can be so competitive, we plan on issuing RFP for a consultant to help develop a grant application for the 2025 round. Any questions for?
No.
Great job.
Publish.
And then to give another update on the population projection, the Center for Economic Development and Business Research is assisting WAMPO staff in creating a new set of data-driven population projections. I just want to keep everyone apprised that process is still going on. The first draft set of projections, kind of based on a modified methodology, will be presented to TAC on May 20th. This will be the first of several presentations and feedback cycles for that. So we'll continue to kind of keep you involved in that and make sure it's a very open and clear process. Any questions for me on that?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Thank you for that. And I think Commissioner Dennis at one of the meetings raised some concerns of maybe, what was the consistency in that? And, one municipality might have done it a little bit different than the other. So thank you to this body for bringing up really good questions. And thank you, staff, for following through. Commissioner Dennis, does this feel better for you as a process now?
I think we got a better process.
Yeah.
The number before didn't make any sense to me.
Okay, so we'll look forward to learning more, but thanks for engaging WSU in this.
Thank you.
I have a question, Peter. Will we have a chance also to review these population calculations and projections before they come to this board as well?
Yes, we intend to offer draft projections or feedback through several TAC and TPE cycles. So you'll be very well informed about how they were developed, what they are prior to the kind of recommendation by TAC or by TAC.
And what kind of calculations that they use as well?
Yes, they're using, I suppose I don't want to take up too much time. They're using this age cohort survival model. It's the same model they use for the state of Kansas, but they're modifying it just a hair on how they calculate the migration rates for the different municipalities. In the upcoming TAC meeting packet, I developed a staff report that goes into more detail on how that's done. And I can certainly forward that staff report to yourself after the meeting.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to see that too. Thank you.
And then, Peter, we have a meeting on June 5, presenting to this body as well for review, right?
Yes, on June,
Sorry, June 2nd Tuesday.
or is that June 11th?
Yeah,
It's
June
June
11th. Yeah. So, right, so that's another opportunity for the body to review as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Peter. And next item.
And then also give notice that 10th Amendment 8 is under the public comment period at this time.
Thank you, Peter. And so the final item is Peter did a great job at the conference. WAMPO conference is a national conference. Staff working with Wichita State University have developed the new methodologies of connecting transportation system and economic development. How transportation planning can include economic indicators for the region, and then how transportation system promotes economic development and indicators for the region. So there were some questions after that, like, the Orlando MPO and some Atlanta MPO, some folks came and talked to Peter after the presentation. We had 1 hour presentation in the conference, about 200 attendees, 2 concurrent sessions of 1 hour. So it was divided into 2 groups, about 70 to audience. So thanks, Peter.
Yeah, and I asked that this be added to the agenda just to highlight the fact that you submitted an abstract to a national conference and were selected. I think that's great, and kudos to you and Chad as the leader of the team. I just wanted to make sure that as the TPB, we were aware and offering our congratulations to staff to be selected to present at a national conference representing WAMPO. So good on you.
Thank you, Chair Howard.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thank you.
Anything else, Peter, on the conference?
It was a wonderful experience. We got to present and then also get feedback from the various MPOs across the nation on how they kind of tackle the same problem. Very important.
And it is Albuquerque, New Mexico for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days.
Thank you for representing us.
Happy to do so.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Next on the agenda is consent agenda. We have 2 consent agenda items that we'll need to approve. I hope you've had a chance to review them. If there's no discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Consent agenda item is passed. Next, we have public comments. If there's anyone from the community, either here in person or online, who would like 3 minutes to let us know their thoughts, we'd love to hear them. Not today, Alan? Okay.
Well, I had something on my computer, but I lost.
Too soon. Yeah, definitely too soon. Okay, seeing none, we'll keep moving on to the action items. The first item and only action item for today is the congestion management process. We have Mike and Lonnie who are going to do the presentation today. Welcome to WAMPO. Glad you're here.
Good afternoon, thank you. Again, my name is Mike Malone. I've been serving as the project manager of the travel planning model update. The action item that's before you today is the congestion management process, which is one of the subtasks that we completed as part of the travel planning model work. So Bonnie Berkman over here to my right was the lead engineer on that task. So he's going to give you a quick update summary of that work before you take action on it. And then we'll be back up as a group to give you a little bit more information on the next agenda item.
yeah, Lonnie Berkman, JEO Consulting. It's a beautiful day outside. Glad to be here. I know I'm not the most exciting part of your day, so our goal is to be quick today. We've been before to talk about congestion management process. This was a task that was completed, again, with some of those others. We're going to be touching on a few of those here in a little bit as far as the overall travel demand model update. The congestion management process, though, we put together with staff is really intended to kind of be a guiding framework to help identify and analyze and assess congestion in the WAMPO region and come up with strategies to combat that and keep things like they are today, which is really pretty good from an overall congestion standpoint. The process, as you can see there, is intended to be systematic, regionally accepted, multimodal, so we're looking across lots of components of your system. Again, the end all goal is really to help move strategies forward and kind of give you a playbook to implement projects and focus that managing congestion on your network. There is a Federal Highway Administration process that steps through kind of an 8-step process, which you can see in the documentation. The good thing is it's not overly prescribed, and so allows some customization. We got a lot of good stakeholder feedback. As we implement things and use that feedback process to help come up with some of those performance measures as well. Consistent with your regional objectives. So, this process is coordinated with your NTP 2050 plan. Again, similar overall objectives to improve safety, efficiency, manage that reliability out there on the network, and also increase overall mobility. As we define the network and work with staff and stakeholders on that, these processes are typically geared, as you might imagine, towards more of the primary arterial network, also going to include major collectors. So those facilities can move traffic that tend to become congested. Locations, we can come up with strategies and tools to help alleviate that as we move forward. Defining performance measures, again, as part of that process, there are some federally required performance measures that are in there in terms of that reliability, using some national data sets, but also looking at localized things. I think we talked before about even the Wichita traffic management center and then getting against it various times. There's some great advances in that. So all of those things are included in that process as a way to provide a measuring stick to how you're doing in terms of this. The nice thing to see was we did some stakeholder surveys, some outreach, also for surveys that were sent out as part of the plan. Those things were pretty consistent in terms of spot locations and also reasons for congestion in the region. So that was nice to see as well. In terms of some of those tools, again, you'll hear in a minute in terms of where the travel demand model is at in the process, but both looking at real world field collected data, noting congested locations, comparing those things with heat maps and volume capacity information, things like that we can get from the model as a tool itself is also helpful in congestion. And really the overall goal is, again, to, as you're putting together those future projects and tips, as projects lend themselves to things that combat congestion, this process will help to shed a light on that and continue to use to help come up with tools and strategies and projects to move forward. So to incorporate those things, as I mentioned, into some of the priorities, ultimately get projects funded, and then the congestion management process is really intended to be sort of cyclical, and as you can find tools and strategies that work, you can come back to those things sort of year after year, really in different locations throughout the region, and start to do a assessment of those things. That's what we have for congestion management process.
Thank you, Lonnie. So that brings us to our action options. We can, for the TDB, can approve the congestion management process as presented, not approve the CMP, or approve the congestion management process with specific changes. The TAC recommendation was to approve the CMP as presented.
Does anyone have any questions? Discussion? Thank you for the presentation. Well done. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve. Ben, you're on it. Is there a second? You want it all? You just want to see your name in the minutes as many times as you can, right?
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Is there a second? Thank you, David. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone? Awesome, thank you. The item does pass unanimously. Next on the agenda, we go into discussion and updates, and we have the travel demand model update again with Mike and Paul. Thanks for joining us again.
All right, well, thank you again. Yeah, Paul is online. Lonnie is also going to participate in this. We're going to give you a brief update on the travel demand model process and a couple of other specific tasks that we've been involved with. So those items are outlined on this slide. Paul's going to give a quick overview of the travel demand model update itself, the validation, calibration process. We're in the home stretch, if you will. You saw one of the other agenda items for a new RFP to provide support for the travel demand model. So we are kind of nearing the completion of the initial development activities. Lonnie's going to give an update on the environmental justice process, which is again kind of another standalone task that we did. And then I'll give a couple of brief updates on the latter two items that are shown on this slide. So with that, Paul, if you're listening in and tracking, you can go ahead and give a quick update on the travel demand model.
Sure. So thanks for having me and for allowing me to participate in the meeting today. And just to give you a quick update about where we are, we're actually pretty much complete with the model. There's a couple hanging threads that we need to wrap up, but for the most part, the model was completed in February, a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of its calibration. And we moved forward to produce the 2050 build scenario, the build out scenario based on the input from the local area jurisdictions and so on and stakeholders. So that's good. So on the slide that Mike is showing, I believe he's showing a slide that has some maps on it. There it is right there. So this is kind of just showing you some of the results from the travel demand model. On the left side of that, the graphic there would be the base year. And on the right side, it would be the future year. You can see that there's a little bit of a difference. It's not overly congested in the 2050. We do have quite a few new projects in that particular network, and that is able to absorb a lot of the population growth, which is fairly moderate moving forward. And you can see that the network performs fairly well. It's colored by a measure of congestion, and that's what we call the volume to capacity ratio. So the darker the colors, the further away they are from green, the more congested the network is in those locations. So you see that generally speaking, it's similar hotspots over the course of the build out year. Okay, so that's kind of one of the critical outputs that you're going to see. One of the things that we did with respect to this model to bring it forward was to give it a revamped interface, make it easy for WAMPO staff to operate and to manage their various scenarios. So you see here is an interface that looks kind of like a flow chart. It shows you how the model is sort of laid out. There's a whole scenario management system behind that. So you can click on any of those boxes, see the inputs, visualize the outputs, all these types of things there. So this is definitely a step forward, we believe, in terms of the modeling at WAMPO. The calibration on the model is rather tight. We have a very, very good calibration on it that we're all pretty satisfied with. The model responds correctly to different changes to the network and demographics in terms of the way you would expect it to change. So, if we put in a new roadway, we can see how the model responds, and it seems to respond in a way that one would expect, and it is logical. So we're pretty pleased in that respect. In terms of the complexity that we've added to the model, we've added a lot of sensible complexity to it to give WAMPO staff a lot more flexibility and use the model for different policy type evaluations as well. So that's kind of where we are with the model. We have a little bit of documentation to finish up here and deliver that final to WAMPO. And we also probably have a couple little training sessions that staff feels they need them. So we're happy to provide the support as whenever we can to make sure the WAMPO staff is successful with the model. So that's kind of where we are. Mike, did you want to take over?
Yeah, I can take over again. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, presentation, and then if you have questions on any of the specific subtopics, feel free to ask them.
Great.
The next item that we're going to touch on is the environmental justice process. I'm going to turn it over to Lonnie, again, who's the task manager of this specific task, and enjoy.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just real brief. So one of the other tasks that we're completing is the environmental justice analysis. Again, that's a follow-up task that utilizes the travel demand model data. And so what we do is look at basically degrees of disadvantage across the region, and I'll show that here on the slide on the next one. Really the objective, as you see there, what's in the text box, is to avoid, minimize, mitigate disproportionately high adverse human health, environmental effects, social economic effects, basically on minority and low income populations, including transportation projects and improvements across the region. So what we're able to do is look at census tract data and identify what shows up on the screen there is higher than average census tracts where there are minority populations. In the same regard, we can look at census tracts that have a higher than average amount of low income population. So when we do that, we're basically able to find what we call 0, 1, and 2 of disadvantage. So when we look at that census tract data, the neat thing we can do with the travel and land model, to start to look from a transportation perspective, is spatially overlay what we call traffic analysis zones. So geometric zones in the model that overlay those census tracts. So what's shown, probably kind of small on the slide there, is basically an overlay of those degrees of disadvantage. So again, if none of them are highlighted, that means there were no higher than average low income minority populations. If it was either or, that was defined as 1 degree of disadvantage, or if a traffic analysis zone included both higher than average amount of minority population and low income population, that shows us an arc color there. So the analysis that's ran basically in the model are these 8 accessibility measures. So we can run travel time durations and look at peak highway accessibility to jobs from these disadvantaged areas. We can look at transit accessibility to jobs, and then we'll see the off-peak ones that are ran there in the model characteristics as well. So to shopping areas, to higher learning diversity locations, and we can run some metrics on those. Basically then to determine, at a baseline on the network now, and then with future projects plugged in, and what we've been able to show is that there are adverse impacts, or disproportionate impacts to those zones, those areas. So we got some demo documentation and some of those statistical things that Paul was working on the model that rolled up. So that will be presented and turned over as well as part of another task. A tool that we'll use as we move forward. So that's environmental justice.
Can I ask a question, Lonnie? So I'm fascinated by this because my background is health equity, right? And so always thinking about social determinants of health and all these things. So how, and maybe it's to Chad or staff or you, but what will WAMPO then do with this data? Like if we look and find, I mean, what's like the next step with, again, this organization does an amazing job of collecting data. We are data rich. But then I always ask, what do we do with this great data that we have? Because to me, that's some really compelling cases, but what does it help us determine or decide?
I'll let Chad start. Okay. He's opening his mouth.
Okay, Lonnie, if you say so. So, thank you, Madam Chair. That's a great question. All of the metropolitan transportation plans, when they are adopted and approved by this body, now in our case, it's due in May 2025. So all the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, when they're adopted, there's a component that is required by Federal Highway Administration to complete EJ analysis. What it means is historically, transportation system in various parts of the various parts had a disproportionate impacts on certain low income and some minority populations. So it's a customary procedure to demonstrate that these transportation systems and planning the future does not have any of those disproportionate impacts. To do that, there are some MPOs who do a quality check analysis, but in our case, we are making a thorough systematic methodology based on data-driven approach. So this is a good, few MPOs does this methodology. When I was in Columbus, Ohio, my boss, Nick Gill, he taught me as well, and I learned from good leaders there. So I continued that methodology. It's just a process that the Federal Highway Administration requires us to complete. We are just utilizing the model to demonstrate that there are no disproportionate impacts.
Fascinating. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Last two items, the last two items I'm going to touch on real quick are, one is model data request. So obviously, one of the reasons that WAMPO and other MPOs develop models is to help themselves as well as other partner agencies be able to use that data for specific planning and transportation and design purposes. So this slide is just kind of a quick reminder or refresher as you or your agencies or other constituents may have a need to use the model. Kind of what are the best practices? So as you look at the items on this slide, you can see that the model is intended for sort of big picture items. So it could be adding capacity to a road, it could be road diets, actually taking lanes away from a roadway. It could be major interchange modifications or a new interchange or a new connection that doesn't exist today. Major elements that are kind of regionally significant is what the model is really best used for. And at the bottom of the slide, there's a couple of terms that may or may not be familiar to you: select link or select zone analysis. And that allows us as transportation planners or traffic engineers to kind of zero in on what are the impacts of traffic generation in a particular area of the community. What roads or what links do those trips use to get to that area of the community, or what roads are used to fill as that traffic generates to that zone. So there are a lot of different applications, but they're all sort of big picture in terms of the purpose of them. Similarly, what is the model not good at? It's generally not good at doing things that are more on the microscopic level or the operational level. So the model isn't something that can tell you, how many left turns are there at a quick shop on a corner. That's more of a site-specific traffic impact kind of analysis. So these are just some reminders in terms of, as you want to use the model, keep in mind what it's good for and what it perhaps isn't as strong at doing. And the last item that I'm going to touch on is what we call post-processing and developing certified traffic counts. So again, as you or some of the other agencies, partner agencies, might have use the travel demand model, there's a need to not just simply take the raw data from the model and use it as is, but to make sure that it's adjusted and modified as needed to properly reflect whatever you're doing in terms of operational analysis or planning or corridor studies, or maybe you're doing roadway design and you need to confirm the capacity of the roadway. But some of the typical things that are done could be taking the model data, which could be in a peak period, or maybe it's even in a daily format, and making sure that it can be properly modified to reflect peak hour conditions, peak direction. Maybe there are seasonal adjustment factors. Maybe there are even truck and multimodal type adjustment factors that need to be made before the data is in a proper format, suitable format to be used for a specific project application. So all of those things are part of how we would use the model, how you may be able to use the model going forward. We're actually going to develop some tools that will become part of the deliverables for the project that can be used by WAMPO staff and other partner agencies that will help in that process. And with that, as I said, we're really kind of rounding the corner in terms of completing the model development project. So as Paul touched on, there's a little bit of work yet to do to finalize the future year travel demand model and then develop some documentation and kind of button up some of the final deliverables, the environmental justice document that Lonnie talked about. And then we're ready to complete the project and move on to the next item. So with that, I would take any questions that you may have of us or a chat.
Yes.
So from a city standpoint, from a small city standpoint, will that model be able to tell you, based upon certain traffic numbers, what sort of treatment or what sort of traffic modifications or configurations you'll put to those streets in those areas? Will it be something that would actually tell you and be a guide for us as cities to be able to make decisions on what we do?
Yeah, the model can be helpful in terms of determining capacity considerations, I guess is how I would categorize it. If you have a roadway that is, maybe it's a 2-lane road today, but you've got a lot of development going on, whether it's commercial or industrial or residential, it can help you assess whether that 2-lane road needs to become a 3-lane road or a 4-lane road, because you've got a certain capacity threshold. That's a very typical use of the model. If you wanted to know, do I need a left turn lane or a right turn lane at a specific intersection, that's probably something you could use the model to drill down and get specific turning volumes. But there might be some other modeling applications to help you assess the capacity at a turning level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, how about, does it take into consideration, say you were gonna add neighborhoods or you're adding a certain amount of traffic to an area, can that model be able to be used that way? Say, for example, we know that a subdivision is gonna go in at a location, to be able to tell us, what we can expect as far as need at that time.
Yeah, and it has to be done, I guess, at the right level. I mean, if you were gonna add, let's say 10 housing units to a large subdivision, the model's probably not sensitive enough to really tell you much about that. If we're going to add, hundreds of thousands of housing units in a large subdivision or a new hospital or a new employer that's going to generate thousands of trips, it can be helpful in assessing those types of needs.
Thank you. Will this data be available on the WAMPO site once it's ready? And for each of us to be able to review and use for each city as well?
Yes, Councilmember, definitely. Staff would have, those maps developed and forecasted volumes developed.
All right, thank you.
Great question. Any other questions?
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Next, on discussion and updates, we have the MTP 2050 Public Engagement Round 2 results, and it's our very own Marky Jonas. Welcome, Marky.
Hi, Mark Jonas, Commission Public Outreach Coordinator. I'm gonna adjust Okay. So I'm just gonna give a brief overview of our most recent round of public engagement, which ran from from December through February. We used our first survey to really refine that to add some clarity and also some questions about local performance measures. And during that round, we did some tabling events. And so we had a total of 171 surveys. And there were 10 questions about the transportation statistics and the attitudes towards the current transportation network, and then 5 demographic questions. And we also facilitated a map activity where participants could identify areas of safety or congestion concerns on a map of the WAMPO region. We also did some youth engagement. So we had a kid survey, and then we also did some classroom visits. And there will be a kids engagement report that will be created and made into an appendix of the finalized MTP 2050 document. So the full results report is linked in the packet. It's also available on our website. A But rather than go through every question, I'm just gonna give a brief overview, kind of a snapshot of 3 questions that I think really give an overview of what the survey found, which is really how it's used, and then a regional desire to shift towards more alternative modes of transportation in the next 25 years. So here's the first question, which asks, what transportation improvements are most important to you? And participants were able to select 3 of the 9 options listed. And you can see here that the most frequently selected option was reduced fatalities and serious injuries. That really doesn't highlight the value that is based on safety in the metro region. And the next most common were improved access space and community services, increased opportunities for public transit, and maintain and expand existing bike and pedestrian infrastructure. And then these next 2 questions show the primary mode of transportation used, and then the transportation challenges that were identified. And it is important to note that this is not statistically accurate. This is a small survey sample size, and we do have this really great engaged community, but that also does lead to a skew in data because, for example, the bike ped community that are advocates, they are more likely to be taking this survey also than just an average person off the street. So that is just something that's important to know when looking at the data. And then next steps. So like I said, this is available on the website, as is the results report from the first round. And everything will be in the appendix of the final MPP document. And then I'm very excited. We have an upcoming round of public engagement that will be starting on Monday, May 20th, and running through June. We'll have a survey for that, and then also just general outreach, trying to increase our role in the community, getting to know everyone. So please let me know if anyone has any outreach ideas or would like to invite WAMPO to come table at an event or just stop by, and we definitely would love to do that. Do you have questions?
I do, I'm sorry. So for the next round of public engagement, is it the same survey or is it a different survey?
It is a different survey. I'm actually really glad you asked that. Going back to what
You're
Dora
welcome.
said
How we practiced really worked. Just kidding.
What Dora said about the regional transit implementation plan, part of the survey questions have questions about the regional transit. So it asks questions about the service alternative concepts, as well as whether people would use the transit, and then about the start times for work. And we talked to our consultant for that plan to help develop those questions, so we can get feedback that really would be beneficial.
That's good to know, because I always see people like adherence of the increased opportunities for public transit. I hear that all the time, but then I wonder, we're such a personal vehicle driven community, pun intended. Is it built it and they will come? I don't know. So I'll be really curious. The city of Wichita has a transit study going on right now. I know WAMPO does too. We have this additional data. And as we're hiring a new transit director for the city of Wichita, this will be great for us, for our municipality. So thank you. Yes, please.
Will that get into like connectivity with smaller cities around Wichita? And will it talk about willingness to do that, and what will it get into that discussion?
The survey doesn't get into it specifically. The alternate service concepts, which are on our website, and we can send those to you as well. They do have those options for different express routes, as well as van, pool, all sorts of different concepts. So we'll ask about that, and there is a question saying, if you work in a different city, would you take transit? And then options are, yes if it's available, yes if might be able to work, just to really see what for the possible ridership could be for that. And then there are other questions as well that ask about just general use, so we kind of find out the trends for remote share. There's a freight question too, which is not a super frequent discussion item, but it is important.
So it should be exciting just to see more feedback.
And Marky, are you looking for engagement opportunities, like if there are events or things, are we supposed to let you know so that way you can either to do the survey, or is the survey being sent out electronically, both?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
I definitely am looking for events and reaching out to them to try and get there. But if anyone has other ideas of events or would like to specifically invite us, that would be great too. Both to do the survey there in person, and we'll be distributing that online.
Riverfest is coming up. You want to catch a lot of people?
We're hoping we just RSVP'd for the first Friday at the boathouse. So we're hoping to get that confirmed, but definitely are hoping to be involved in all of that and just share more about what is a WAMPO.
Awesome. Yes, Mike?
Marky, you mentioned there was a possible skew in the previous survey. Have y'all come up with what that percentage is? Is it a 1 to 3 or 0.5% or something? Just so when we look at the numbers, we can say that 7% could be 5 to 9.
Sure. So we have not done that. We can definitely try and look into that more. And that is one of the things for the next survey as well. The first question is going to try and find, what are the first question asks about what modes of transportation do you use in a typical week. So that will really, I think, narrow it down too, so you can see all of the people who actually do walk on a typical week as a mode of transportation. Here are what they said, as opposed to, these people just drive. The majority of people we know that they do drive in high regions. So that will help us be able to narrow that down based on, who and what level of activity they have.
What can we as cities do to help get out the word on this?
I will definitely be sending out the survey and a little press release for that. So that I think we'll have a flyer as well. So any communications, social media postings, and as well as if there are city events, we'd love to go to those. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
I was on SCAC on Saturday, so we were there, and almost every city was saying they have this spring festival and this event, so send them all Marky, right? You're gonna be busy for the next month.
Yes, that would be great. And my email is just marky.jonas@wampo.org.
Say it again.
It's marky.jonas@wampo.org.
It looks like she was singing it. All right, thank you, Marky. Great job, appreciate it. Next, we have Peter with MTP 2050, Federal Fiscal Year 2025 through 28 TIP Project Selection Committee meetings and recommendations. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm very excited to get here and tell you about the PSC's recommendation. So from September 15th to February 2nd, 2024, WAMPO held a combined call for projects for the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization in federal fiscal year 2025 to 2028 transportation improvement program. This past April and May, the project selection committee met 3 times to make recommendations on awards of WAMPOs that allocate federal funding for the federal fiscal year 2025 to 2028. The PSC meetings for the full MTP projects will take place later on. To be more specific, the PSC made recommendations on the use of available projected funding for the 25 and 20 through 2028 years in the amount shown here, and this is on packet page 30. So the new tip years that we were looking at for funding recommendations were 27 to 28, but in addition, the PSC also made funding recommendations for balances that we had in years 25 and 26. And I have a map here. It wasn't initially included in the packet. These PSC recommendations right now are a discussion item from the way our TAC-TBD cycle worked out. So we actually made this map for our next TAC meeting where this will be an action item with the TAC. But we try I included in terms of that operating, so you can see which projects, where they are on different funding recommendations that were made. And the complete list of funding recommendations is here for those 10 years. This is on page 31 of your packet. Any questions for me on these funding recommendations? Today, again, this is a discussion item. This will go to TAC as an action item on the 20th, and then an action item for TPP on June 11th.
Any questions for Peter? All right, you did such a good job. We don't have any questions. Thank you, Peter. Last on discussion and updates, one of my favorite topics ever, K96 improvement project update. We have Nick from KDOT and Jake from WSP.
Chair, my name is Nick Squires. I'm District Meeting Director for KDOT out of South Central Kansas. Thanks for inviting us here to speak today on K96 improvement projects. This is a major expansion that's going to be coming to the metro area. We're coming off of an open house that happened in April that had a lot of good turnout. The K96 improvements team has made a lot of progress in the last year. It's now reached the end of its environmental assessment and preliminary design phase. KDOT appreciates the partnership we've had with the city of Wichita and the city of Wichita. KDOT's hired WSP to help us through this project, and the project manager, Jake Porter. We're here to discuss what's happened since the last K96 presentation in March of 23, and share the project's preferred alternatives.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, board. Appreciate the opportunity to come back and provide some updates on the project. Again, my name is Jake Porter, WSP project manager for the K96 project. Again, just a brief update to the board. I appreciate the opportunity. So, a real quick agenda, just kind of talk about, again, a real brief project overview for those of you that may not be familiar with it. Some quick updates from last time we were here about a year ago, and next steps where we're headed. Be remiss if I didn't recognize our partners. As Nick mentioned, this is a KDOT project. So Kansas DOT is leading design and eventual construction. City of Wichita has been an amazing partner from day one, as well as Citrus County as well, and obviously the federal highway administration. All of the logos under that, those are our design partners. We've got a great team working with us on the design. So very much appreciate the partnership across the table and across the board. Just a brief overview. Essentially, we're improving all of K96 in Northeast Wichita, starting at the west end there, the I-135 interchange, extending east and south down to roughly the KTA interchange, east of Kellogg area. So the west end will be coordinated with the North Junction improvements that are ongoing right now. And on the east end, coordinated with the East Kellogg Phase 1 project, which is currently under design, so they can start construction next year or so. You can see kind of the darker orange line through there represents the segment of K96 that will be expanded to 6 lanes. That goes from about I-135 to roughly 21st Street, south of 21st Street. Just pavement replacement, putting back the same 4 lanes that are out there today, but building in such a way that we can expand in the future if needed. As you can see, the red circles through there, we've got several interchanges that are getting improvements throughout the corridor, and talk about those. So just a brief reminder what the project is, why are we doing the project? First and foremost, it's safety. The stretch of K96 has a higher than average crash rate for a typical or similar freeway within the state of Kansas. So we want to address some of those concerns. Along with that, addressing some traffic operations capacity concerns throughout the corridor, while we're expanding and making those interchange improvements. Obviously, a lot of those congestion areas kind of center around the interchanges. Those of you that drive the corridor are familiar with that. Just some quick updates, bullet points. Apologize for the text on the slide. Since last time we were here in March of 23, so about a year ago, The team has completed our draft environmental assessment study, that included a noise study that's currently open for public comment. That public comment period closes tomorrow. That document is online and out at a couple neighborhood resource centers and a library out on the east side of town. So in person. We've had a lot of public outreach. Appreciate Liz and her team and the work they've done. We've had several large community events, community group events. We met with nearly 40 property owners in the last year to get their input and feedback on the project and concerns. In some of the interchange design, we have moved forward and selected a diverging diamond as the preferred alternative at a number of fees for consistency throughout the corridor and the way to handle traffic and improve safety. Additionally, we included some adjustments and some improvements to the northbound I-135 ramp that connects eastbound K-96. We made that part of the project as well to kind of finish off all of that Oak Junction K-96 area altogether, and then we've extended our project a little bit on the east end to tie into the East Gallup project, so we didn't have a gap in the increments between the two projects. Did mention the open house about a month ago, and over 100 folks in attendance, got really great feedback and input. We've had over 30 comments come in through the open comment period in the last month. A lot of support for the project. A lot of people recognize the need and the improvements that are coming, and a lot of folks that have driven through an emerging diamond are really supportive of it. A little bit of caution and some hesitancy if people haven't driven through again before, but the team and Liz will be doing a lot of public outreach and information and education as we get closer to construction about how to navigate that type of intersection, because it is a little bit newer in the South Central Kansas. Real quickly, the last few slides here, just some snapshots about what the project is going to look like. Of course, for the majority of K-96, like we talked, 6 lanes, so we'll be closing in that grass median with a concrete median and a concrete barrier. So it'll look very similar to what's out at East Gallup today for reference. Just kind of dig down a little bit, you can see the I-135 interchange on the left. You can kind of see hillside there on the right end of the screen. You can see that northbound ramp that we talked about that connects northbound 135 eastbound 96. It's currently a 1-lane ramp. We'll be expanding that to a 2-lane ramp and doing some grading. Here we can see on the next slide here. So that northbound and eastbound ramp is going to come and then parallel K-96 for a ways and then cross under. Cross under to connect to the K-96, whereas K-96 traffic that wants to exit and get to the hillside is going to cross over town. We call a bridge ramp to help all of that traffic in that tight space get to where it needs to go and eliminate some of those weaving and congestion limits. All of our interchange, again, a diverging diamond. Not much has changed here since the last time you've seen it. Again, just working through some access concerns, some discussions with the local residents and property owners through there. Woodlawn, again, we've selected the diverging diamond for the proposed configuration. One of the other big changes since we've last been here is the connection with 32nd Street and Woodlawn. So we straightened 32nd out to connect to Woodlawn and eliminated that direct connection to the Home Depot parking lot. So now Home Depot and the YMCA will connect off of 32nd Street. That helps really improve the safety and the operations through Woodlawn and the entire stretch in that corridor. You can also see here, obviously, there's park property north and south of K-96. We are constructing a multi-use path to connect both sides of the park and make that safe connection to the interchange. Rock Road, again, the diverging diamond configuration here, and again, realigning 32nd Street south of K-96 into one intersection, with traffic signal there. Again, to move that intersection a little bit further away from the interchange that it is today, but have that ability to stay. Web Road, quite honestly, has been a topic of much consideration and conversation through the project, just because of everything that's going on. Obviously, there's lots of geometric challenges and constraints there. So we made some adjustments to the configuration that we had shown at our last public open house. Most notably, we pulled the eastbound on-ramp in K96 a little bit further south. So that aligns with the interest in Greenbrier neighborhood, just to the west. So that allows that neighborhood access to turn left and right on the web road traffic signal. And then we've added an additional traffic signal north of K96 up in Tobin, which is about where the web road road sign is on the display there, to allow some of that development a little bit better access on the web road. Greenwich, very minimal improvements here, just adding some additional turn lanes on the ramps. Seeing KDOT made some improvements actually in the last several years. I think it's gonna last for a while, so we don't need to do much here at this interchange. 21st Street, again, back to the reverting diamond configuration. We've had some big conversations with some of the properties through here about providing appropriate access. You can see that on the screen. Again, something to point out here, north of K96 to the kind of the top of the screen, that multi-use path along K96 is on the west, across 21st is then on the east. So again, a wider multi-use path with some safer connections through that interchange is proposed as part of that project to help really mesh that connectivity on the trail better. Real quick, last slide. Next steps, timeline. Design team is about to hold what we call field check, which is about 50 to 50% design in June. We anticipate having the finding of no significant impact, which kind of wraps up our environmental study stage this summer as well. That allows us to begin our right-of-way process. Property appraisals, negotiation, those sorts of things are anticipated to start early next year in 2025. We are not currently on KDOT's construction pipeline. As you know, with their program, they don't allocate funding more than 2 years in advance. Our current schedule has a letting as early as late 2026. Construction may start 2027. So we're hopeful to get into that construction pipeline later this year. To be determined where all that's. Last slide. How you can get involved. Liz and the team have put together an amazing project website. There's direct links and direct access, phone numbers, emails. It comes right to us on the design. So feel free if you have any questions. Lots of information out there, and everything that was presented at the open house in April is up on the website. We're able to get there, head to the website, and see all that information. With that, I will answer your questions.
Any questions from Jake or Nick? Yes.
Did you just say that this wouldn't start till around 2027?
That is the current projected timeline. Wood Junction project should be completed by then. East Keller phase 1 should be substantially completed for all intents for this construction. Which is kind of why that schedule is the way it is.
Yes. Commissioner.
And thank you for this briefing. But I do have a question. I'm going to change gears for a minute. Okay? We have a K96 corridor meeting from Wichita over to Hutchinson. On Thursday. I hope Kaylene's invited to that. If not, you're invited. I'll invite you personally. It's going to be held at 11:30 at the zoo. Lunch will be served first at 11:30. So you're welcome. But my question is there anything going on the corridor between Wichita and Hutchinson that we need to be aware of just in case you don't make it?
Not as part of this project, but I'll defer to Nick or KDOT if there's anything else laying out that direction.
I'm not really aware of anything that we have going on. We have some maintenance projects that are happening, but no further conversations.
Any other questions? Thank you again, Nick, and thank you, Jake, for the continued updates and all of your great community engagement strategies. Really appreciate it. All right, next we have committee and partner updates regarding the executive committee. The next executive committee meeting is August 15th at 11 a.m. and it's over here in the Metropolitan Area Planning Department conference room. It's an open meeting, and if anything has to be discussed of a sensitive nature, we go into executive session. Otherwise, the meeting is completely open, so all are welcome. I'll turn it over to Nick. Anything from KDOT you want to share with us today?
Unless JB has any kind of words of wisdom, any kind of updates, I have.
No, we should be completing the first phase of that southbound Highway 35 to West Kellogg fairly soon. We're hoping by early June, and then we'll be moving to northbound to West Kellogg. So it's a great project. It's good to, we get to maintain these types of things, and excited.
Excellent.
I'm scheduled K-54 public meeting on May 22.
Very well.
Yeah, there is a K-54 public meeting in Benton on May 22. I forgot the exact time. We can send an email to the.
I think it's 5:37.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, that's the management plan.
Awesome. Thank you very much, friends from KDOT. We appreciate it. Is Rick on the line from Federal Highway? Didn't think so. Nick, did you see him? The other Nick. Okay, great. Is there any other business for the good of the group? Any other announcements or anything? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You can stay. Have a great day, everyone. See you next month.